December 11th, 2025. Topic of the day, Borax. Yeah, Borax, the old laundry booster. And why I've been consuming Borax every day for several years now. Okay, so first of all, disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only, and in no way am I giving any medical advice. I would never do that. That being said, let's dive into it. So first of all, what is borax and what is boron? Well, borax is a boron containing compound. Borax is a salt, and you can find it as sodium borate, you can find it as sodium tetraborate, and you can find it as disodium tetraborate. Whatever, it's a natural occurring mineral and a salt of boric acid, okay? It contains four simple things: sodium, oxygen, boron, and water. All of those are essential for us. And in that combination, it's safe for us as well. And we're going to talk about safety. And so this is found basically in places where seasonal lakes routinely evaporate and borax builds up. But it's naturally occurring in our soils, and it's naturally occurring in healthy produce that is grown in healthy soils, which sadly very little of our food is today. Now, boron, the element, right? Think of the periodic table of elements: hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. Boron, the element contained in borax, is considered an essential trace element for plants and is increasingly recognized as having vital role in human health. Super important, okay? Particularly in bone metabolism and hormone regulation, where we see dysregulation in those rampantly today. But it's also actively investigated for its use in anti-inflammatory properties, its superior antioxidant properties, and its potential an anti-cancer agent due to its ability to modulate cell signaling pathways. And this actually is pretty well established, and this is one of the main reasons why we are basically programmed to believe that borax is dangerous and scary, because they can't patent this and sell you on a subscription prescription. So there's a great paper, and we're going to go through some science. And if you look here, you can see I have the PMID numbers of different papers that we're going to look at, and there are many like this. So there's no shortage of data showing the benefits of boron and borax specifically in human health. And a lot of these studies, some of them are in humans, and many of them are animal studies, but they're worth looking at. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I'm pointing you guys to information. So this paper, nothing boring about boron. Every section it goes in depth. So bone health, okay? It helps reduce the daily urinary excretion of calcium and magnesium. So what does that mean? It's improving the absorption of it, okay? Increasing serum levels of estradiol, which is key for bone health and bone growth, and beneficially impacts the utilization of vitamin D. It improves hormone regulation, beneficially impacts the body's use of key hormones, including estrogens and androgens, like testosterone, with supplementation showing increases in free testosterone and estradiol levels in some individuals. It benefits us in wound healing, big time, right? So boron greatly improves wound healing, and the application of boric acid solutions was shown to reduce the time required in intensive care for deep wounds. Here's where it really shines: anti-inflammatory effects and antioxidant activity. It is incredible at these things. So it reduces levels of inflammatory biomarkers like C-reactive protein, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and it helps alleviate symptoms of conditions like osteoarthritis and other forms of arthritis. Now, on the antioxidant side, super powerful. It raises levels of antioxidant enzymes such as superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase. It improves our cognitive function. Boron improves brain electrical activity. It improves cognitive performance. It improves short-term memory across the board, and particularly in elders. And it protects against toxicity, a broad spectrum of toxicity, including heavy metal toxicity. So it protects against pesticide-induced oxidative stress and heavy metal toxicity that's driving that same type of oxidation and oxidative stress. Boric acid and borax have been tested for their protective effects against heavy metals. And in cancer research, it demonstrates preventative and therapeutic effects in several cancers: prostate cancer, cervical cancer, lung cancer, as well as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it may help mitigate the terrible adverse effects of traditional chemotherapy, which is again driven by very high levels of oxidation and stress. As mentioned before, it benefits or improves nutrient absorption, boosting the absorption of things like magnesium, calcium, vitamin D. Incredible. And it talks about all of these benefits require more than 3 milligrams a day, way more than that. But that's like, the daily recommended doses are ridiculous. You're going to need a lot more of this. So, a pivotal role of boron supplementation on bone health. PMID number, you see that. Okay. Biological function. Boron is a trace element that plays an important role in biological functions, including calcium metabolism and the growth and maintenance of our bone tissue. Boron is effective in supporting bone health by controlling the metabolism of key elements, including calcium, vitamin D, and those sex steroid hormones like estradiol. Dietary supplementation with boron is demonstrably useful to support bone health and help maintain adequate bone mineral density. And this is a big deal, especially for people today that have gone down this GLP-1 nonsense, that have lost bone mass, that have lost muscle mass. This can help. Okay. Therapeutic effects of boric acid and septic arthritis model induced by E. coli. This is a rat study. So they, developed this arthritic condition, septic arthritis caused by E. coli in rats, and then they gave them boron or boric acid. And so what that showed on the antioxidant effect was a significant increase was observed in the levels of glutathione, our major endogenous antioxidant. Significant decreases was observed in malondialdehyde, which is the end product or the byproduct of a degenerative process called lipid peroxidation caused by oxidative stress. So MDA is a classic biomarker of cellular damage, and that got better. So the anti-inflammatory effects of the boric acid was observed a significant decrease of this endoglin, which is a biomarker of inflammation and tissue response, as well as a decrease in tumor necrosis factor beta, which is a pro-inflammatory cytokine. And this is what we're going to see across the board, is major reductions in these pro-inflammatory cytokines. The histopathological analysis of the tissue showed that the reactive surroundings tissue response in the boric acid treated group was significantly reduced. So boric acid significantly reduces the inflammation, both biochemically and histopathologically, in the septic arthritis model. Covered that up a bit, but you get it. Okay, the effects of some boron-containing compounds against heavy metal toxicity in human blood. And this is a big deal because we are overexposed to all kinds of things, from aluminum to lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic. So to assess the effectiveness of boron compounds, specifically boric acid and borax, as well as colmanite and ulexite, against genotoxicity, which is DNA damage, induced by common heavy metals, like I just mentioned, arsenic, cadmium, lead, mercury. Treatment with these heavy metals resulted in significant DNA damage in the lymphocytes, in causing oxidative stress, increased plasma MDA, malondialdehyde, decreased antioxidant enzymes like glutathione. Okay, so we're struggling with this oxidative damage and not enough antioxidant protection. The tested boron compounds, when administered, significantly reduced all genotoxic effects caused by the heavy metals. And the study concludes that the protective role of these boron compounds is due to their antioxidant capacity. It is incredible at that. And we're going to see more of this as we continue to go on. So boron compounds exhibit very protective effects against aluminum-induced neurotoxicity and genotoxicity. This is why it's important for you guys to learn, especially those of us that have poke-injured children that are experiencing very high levels of oxidative stress from aluminum in the brain that was translocated there from the injection site. So, neuroprotection. Boron compounds protected the hippocampal neurons in the brain from aluminum-induced neurotoxic effects, which included severe cell degeneration and impairment from the blood-brain barrier. So low dose, 3.25 milligrams per kilogram of body weight of boric acid and borax, as well as those other two that I mentioned, showed structures similar to the control group, indicating a protective effect. Okay. Borax was noted as having the best overall protective effect among the tested compounds. Of all the boron-containing compounds, borax protected best against aluminum toxicity. Okay, and the anti-genotoxicity, the DNA protection, boron compounds significantly reduce the rates of chromosome aberration and DNA damage scores in the bone marrow cells that were exposed to aluminum. And then, of course, that antioxidant and cytoprotective role. The study concluded that the beneficial effects of boron compounds are due to their antioxidant, anti-genotoxic, and cytoprotective properties. So, the boron compounds, when administered alone at two different doses, 3.25 and 6.5 milligrams per kilogram, did not cause any adverse changes in any of the genetic, cytological, biochemical, or pathological parameters studied in rats. We can go much higher than that, by the way. Okay, neuroprotective properties of borax against aluminum hydroxide-induced neurotoxicities, the possible role of the NRF2, BDNF, and ACHE pathways. And this is in fish brain and rainbow trout. We're going to look at another one like this, but this is important for us too. So, aluminum hydroxide exposure resulted in, as expected, significant neurotoxicity in the brain, including cell death, apoptosis, DNA damage, enzyme inhibition, and massive rates of lipid peroxidation through these pathways. Borax application countered all of these effects. It supported the antioxidant capacity, it prevented the apoptosis, it protected the cells, it stopped the lipid peroxidation, and it brought down the inflammatory response and protected against the DNA damage. It also increased levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, and acetylcholinesterase activity. So the study concluded that the combination of borax with aluminum hydroxide effectively modulated the toxic effects of the aluminum, demonstrating borax possesses very powerful neuroprotective properties. Borax exerts protective effects against ferrocene, which is a common industrial metallic waste that's ubiquitous in our waters today. So, protective effects against ferrocene-induced neurotoxicity, again in these rainbow trout. The borax protective effects against neurotoxicity was basically the same, right? Massive oxidative stress markers from the ferrocene causing inhibition of antioxidant enzymes, so it blocked the production of catalase, glutathione peroxidase, superoxide dismutase, and increased levels of lipid peroxidation were shown, measured by high levels of malondialdehyde. Okay, similar story. Now, the ferrocene induced an increase in inflammatory markers of tumor necrosis factor alpha and interleukin-6. These are key players in autism, guys. And the enzyme MPO. Borax had a mitigating effect on these inflammatory changes, so it helped dial down these inflammatory cytokines. The DNA damage and the cell death, apoptosis. Borax helped alleviate increased DNA damage and the markers of apoptosis that were induced by the ferrocene. So again, borax may be useful in preventing and alleviating neurotoxic-induced challenges by environmental contaminants and toxic chemicals that we're exposed to. Okay, the ameliorative effects of this compound, HBNNP. This is a new synthetic boron-containing compound. So, guys, pharma's all over this, which is why we're going to be told that this is toxic and run far away, because they want to be able to create synthetics that they can patent and sell to you on a prescription base. All right. Now, I'm not going to say these new compounds aren't going to be incredibly effective and targeted. They probably will be, but we have some natural options, right? So this is basically showing that in Alzheimer's disease, the amyloid beta plaquing can cause a lot of problems, okay? The plaques themselves. They cause degradation and all kinds of issues. So the plaques decrease cell viability, elevated total oxidant status, again, causing oxidative stress, induced cell death, and necrotic cell death, okay? So these plaques are a problem. This boron compound helped prevent all the damage caused by these plaques. Okay, so the results indicate that this boron-containing compound could significantly prevent the neurotoxic damage caused by amyloid beta plaques and are a novel and promising Alzheimer's disease agent. Okay, what about Parkinson's disease? The pharmacological, behavioral, and biochemical effects of boron in Parkinson's. So boric acid demonstrated a dose-dependent antioxidant activity, which is crucial because oxidative stress is a key feature in pathogenesis of Parkinson's disease. And it's also a key feature of pathogenesis of pretty much all chronic disease. But in motor behavioral tests, a statistically significant difference was observed suggesting that boric acid treatment improved motor behavior in the Parkinson's indicated rats compared to the non-treated group. So decrease in neuronal degeneration with increases of boric acid, and then the dopaminergic system. There was a significant increase in tyrosine hydroxylase immunoreactivity, increasing dopamine production. Okay, the neurotransmitter dopamine was increased in production because of the boric acid, and that is deficient in Parkinson's disease. So this really helped. And so researchers concluded that the dose-dependent effect of boric acid may protect the dopaminergic system through its antioxidant activity in the pathogenesis of Parkinson's disease. Flippin' awesome. All right, boron-containing compounds on neurons, actions and potential applications for treating neurodegenerative diseases. BCCs, boron-containing compounds, exert various effects on neurons. These effects are inferred from both boron deprivation studies and the actions of new synthesized BCCs. Okay, again, this is pharma showing that this is very powerful. In the end, basically what we find is that there is a powerful therapeutic potential here with boron-containing compounds. Several new synthesized organoboron compounds suggest they have the ability to act with attractive potency, efficacy, and long-term action on neuronal receptors and processes related to the origin and evolution of neurodegenerative diseases. I'm very focused on this, obviously because my son has epilepsy and was injured by vaccines, and so many kids also are. But neurological disorders is the #1 cause of illness globally. Okay, it outpaced cardiovascular disease back in March of 2024. So this is a big deal. Now, boron also helped balance the gut microbiome. So boron is mentioned as an active biotrace element suggested to be essential nutrient that exhibits neuroprotective effects. The findings of various studies summarize in this review that boron is crucial for preserving memory function. Boron-based diets are discussed in relation to memory, the microbiome, and its function as an anti-inflammatory agent. Again, boron-containing compounds have been shown to target pathways involved in Alzheimer's disease, enhancing glutathione levels, which is critical for neuroprotection against reactive oxygen species. It improves ALS. Using a synthetic boronic acid mask was reported to inhibit the ribonucleolytic activity of enzymes angiogenin, okay, when the cell is suffering from reactive oxygen species mitigated damage, imparting a selective neuroprotective effect. And again, in Parkinson's disease, like we discussed. So multiple studies showing just powerful neuroprotective properties. And then boron-based hybrids as novel scaffolds for the development of drugs with neuroprotective properties. So again, they're showing how they can kind of create these boron-containing compounds that can target permeability of the blood-brain barrier, treating central nervous system disorders and Alzheimer's disease and many others. So the preliminary results suggest that this novel boron-based hybrid, BLA in this case, could serve as a multi-target structural scaffold for developing new drugs to manage Alzheimer's disease and hitting targets like amyloid beta toxicity and oxidative stress and ACHE inhibition. Okay, borax prevents or partially prevents neurological disability and oxidative stress in experimental spinal cord ischemia and reperfusion injury. So they basically restricted blood flow to the spine and then reopened it up and measured what happened with the group that got boron or borax and the group that did not. So the borax-treated group showed significantly improved neurological outcomes 72 hours after the injury compared to the untested injury group. Borax significantly decreased levels of total oxidant status and markers of damage, and borax significantly increased total antioxidant capacity in the spinal cord. So borax treatment appears to protect the spinal cord against ischemia and reperfusion injury in rats and improves neurological function, suggesting again neuroprotective role, likely due to antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Okay, boric acid is a promising agent in cancer treatments, in this case ovarian cancer. Boric acid demonstrated several anti-cancer mechanisms. It inhibited cell proliferation, inhibited invasion, migration, and colony formation. It induced apoptosis in the cancer cells, so they would actually die and stop replicating. Boric acid was found to induce oxidative stress. So listen, this is the opposite of what we've been reading so far. In cancer cells, it actually induced oxidative stress within only the cancer cells as part of its mechanism to trigger apoptosis. So it's selective in how it works. This study suggests that boric acid as a natural molecule holds promise as a therapeutic agent and may support the effectiveness of conventional ovarian cancer treatments by reducing adverse effects. Here's another one. This is incredible. The promising potential of boron compounds against glioblastoma cancer, in vitro antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer studies. So, looking at cytotoxicity, both boric acid and borax led to remarkable reductions in the availability of glioblastoma cells in a concentration-dependent manner. Boric acid was slightly more effective than borax in a few parameters here, but they both worked incredibly well. The mechanisms, the anti-cancer effect of boric acid and borax was associated with the downregulation of key signaling pathways involved in cancer progression. The oxidative stress and inflammation. Boron compounds induced, get this, a selective oxidative and anti-inflammatory response only in the cancer cells. So it became a pro-oxidant. Increased total oxidant status and increased malondialdehyde levels, suggesting selective oxidative stress to kill the cancer cells. The antioxidant system decreased total antioxidant capacity and total glutathione levels, but increased activity of antioxidant enzymes like superoxide dismutase and catalase. And then the inflammatory response. It reduced inflammatory cytokines like we've seen already, specifically decreasing interleukin-1 alpha and interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. Again, key players in what? Autism and other neurodegenerative disorders and cancers. So, when a normal cell line was treated with boron compounds, it exhibited the exact opposite condition. It became protective and antioxidant compared to the cancer cells. So it creates balance in the body and helps the body bring that oxidation where it should be and bring antioxidant where there's damage being done. So the analysis indicated that boron compounds may be safe and promising for the effective treatment of glioblastoma due to their selective cytotoxicity and anti-inflammatory properties. How freaking cool is that? Okay, cellular changes in boric acid treated prostate cancer cells. So, epidemiological animal and cell culture studies have identified boron as a chemopreventative agent in prostate cancer. So, the anti-proliferative and senescence effect. Boric acid caused a dose-dependent reduction in cell proliferation, and then it helped induce senescence, which is not a good thing for a healthy cell, but something you want to have happen in a cancer cell. So boric acid induced morphological changes, importantly, increased beta-galactosidase activity, suggesting that boric acid induces conversion to a senescent-like cellular phenotype. So boric acid caused a dose-dependent reduction in cyclins AE and MAPK proteins, suggesting these molecular changes contributed to the inhibition in cell proliferation. Okay, so basically what we found, this paper and related research suggests that boric acid inhibits the proliferation of prostate cancer cells, stops the cancer cells from growing and multiplying. It induces a senescent phenotype, which means the cells stop dividing. And for cancer cells, that's really a good thing. And it means the cell is effectively permanently retired. Still alive, but it can no longer divide and contribute to the tumor growth. So basically, it reduces their metastatic potential through various molecular mechanisms. Awesome. Okay. The ameliorative effects of boron on serum profile in buffalo fed high fluoride rations. Now, there's a lot of studies you can go find about how borax, boron, boric acid prevent and control fluoride toxicity. This is one. Okay. The conclusion suggests that there's a beneficial effect of boron, as borax specifically, on serum minerals and ALP enzymes in buffalo calves consuming a high fluoride ration, indicating protective role against fluoride toxicity. What fluoride did was depress serum levels of calcium and zinc, and so by applying boron, it reversed all of that. So there's several studies you can now find showing boron supplementation helps counteract fluoride toxicity by, one, reducing fluoride absorption. It blocks fluoride absorption, and increasing excretion from the body, improving nutrient use, and preventing severe dental and skeletal damage. So they're reducing fluoride absorption. Boron binds with fluoride, decreasing how much the body absorbs from the diet. It increases the excretion of that fluoride through the urine and the feces, preventing buildup, and alleviates nutrient absorption issues. So boron improves the absorption of essential minerals like calcium and phosphorus, which fluoride often interferes with, and then it prevents the toxicity signs. So studies in animals showed boron prevented the severe dental and bone issues associated with high fluoride intake. In essence, boron acts as a chelator and a binding agent that mitigates fluoride's harmful effects. Whoa. Okay. This is actually more important than most people realize. So let's talk about this. The effects of boric acid and borax on titanium dioxide genotoxicity. How many of you guys know what titanium dioxide is? Probably not a lot of you. And if you do know, you probably only recently heard about it, because this is a toxin that actually causes genotoxicity. This damages our DNA, and it's ubiquitous. It's in so many foods and hygiene products. So you can find this study, the effects of boron compounds on DNA damage. Titanium dioxide and its genotoxicity. So titanium dioxide significantly increases the rates of cystochromatid exchanges and micronuclei formations in the human peripheral lymphocytes, indicating DNA damage. Boron alone, boric acid, and borax, when tested alone at various concentrations, caused no significant increases in that damage, suggesting they're not genotoxic at all. And then the anti-mutagenic effect. The presence of boric acid and borax significantly reduced the titanium dioxide-induced DNA damage rates. This study indicates for the first time that boric acid and borax possess an anti-mutagenic and protective effect, leading to increased resistance to DNA damage induced by titanium dioxide. Okay, who cares? You should. Titanium dioxide is literally everywhere. Titanium dioxide is used in thousands of food and hygiene products, acting as both a whitener and a brightener. It's used in sweets, dressings, gums, ice cream, makeup, sunscreen, toothpaste, and estimates range that it's in over 11,000 items here in the United States. Not so much in other countries. Again, candies and gums, it adds and whitens and shines. Think of Skittles and like chiclets and gums and things that are all bright and shiny. Dairy alternatives, it whitens milks, cheeses, ice creams, coffee creamers, frostings. It's used in sauces and soups, creamy dressings, ranch and Caesars, chowders, gravies, processed foods found in pre-shredded cheeses, pastries, powdered drink mixes, and packaged meals. Again, toothpaste, makeup, foundations, powders, lipsticks, opacity, UV blocking, sunscreens, and often in the nanoparticle that goes right into your bloodstream, damaging your DNA. Shampoos, deodorants, shaving creams also contain it. But also things like tampons, even the organic brands, have titanium dioxide to whiten the cotton, okay, maxi pads, and even baby diapers. So titanium dioxide is a big problem that most people don't know about, and guess what can help ameliorate the damage? Borax. Okay, hormone function. So boron-containing compounds really help balance our hormones and regulate our sex steroid hormones like testosterone and estrogen. So dietary boron supplementation consumed over several weeks was found to induce multiple changes in steroid hormone metabolism. For example, in men, it led to a significant decrease in plasma estradiol levels, suggesting that higher rates of conversion of total testosterone into free testosterone in men. Evidence suggests that the boron plays a role in regulating the production and the half-life of plasma hormones, potentially by influencing hydroxylation reactions involved in the formation of steroid hormones from precursors. And conversely, boron deprivation results in adverse defects like reduced serum steroid hormone levels. So this is a problem for a lot of people because they don't have the right levels of boron in the blood or in the body. Its effects on vitamin D metabolism. So the administration of boron compounds such as boric acid and borax led to increases in the active form of vitamin D in the plasma as well as in its physiological effects. Again, the anti-cancer potential that's there is very hormonal as well. So think of breast cancers, especially estrogen-sensitive breast cancers. This can help combat those issues. So this is also incredible. Boron containing compounds for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of human metabolic disorders. Basically, this really does bring balance. And what we're finding is this can be a key to find beneficial treatments to metabolic disorders that are of high global burden, particularly diabetes type 2, diabetes mellitus. So boron-containing compounds like borax are reported to act on enzymes and membrane transporters that are crucial for modifying carbohydrate metabolism. And then recent findings also show effects of boron-containing compounds on lipid metabolism. So the review concludes by suggesting that compiled information on the effects and interactions of boron-containing compounds point toward their potential application for treating various human metabolic disorders, which are everywhere today. What about like liver problems and renal problems? Well, boron and boric acid and borax are actually hepatoprotective. So boron facilitates amelioration of hepatic injury and resolves injury by improving the tissue redox homeostasis. So looking at liver toxicity that was induced in rats, which mimics features of hepatitis C infection in humans, glycine is very pivotal here, but so is boron. So glycine is known for its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, was confirmed to help alleviate this hepatic injury, improving liver function. Borax was also found to be beneficial against the cellular stress with protective effects in the cell survival, immunity, and tissue redox state. Combine them and there was a very powerful synergistic effect. So both glycine and borax, when administered alone, successfully ameliorated the negative changes in oxidative stress markers from the liver damage. But put them together and you had this better and more pronounced protective response than the compounds alone. The results suggest that boron supplementation facilitates and resolves hepatic injury by enhancing the glycine-mediated protection and improving the overall tissue redox homeostasis. So the study concluded that boron in the form of borax works synergistically with glycine to offer enhanced protection against liver damage, which has potential clinical implications for treating liver disease characterized by oxidative stress and inflammation. Borax counteracts the genotoxicity of aluminum in the rat liver. So to evaluate the protective role of borax on DNA damage caused by aluminum chloride in rat livers, this is what they did. So aluminum chloride treatment significantly increased the number of micronucleated hepatocytes, which is an indicator of massive genotoxicity and DNA damage. Rats treated with borax alone showed no increase in the damage. Okay. Borax, simultaneously, treatment with borax and aluminum chloride significantly antagonized the genotoxic effects of the aluminum, so it protected it. The study concluded that borax has beneficial influence and possesses the ability to antagonize aluminum toxicity to the liver. BCCs, boron-containing compounds, are showing signs of being very hepatoprotective. So cool. Okay, so we've seen so many things around its powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. It's balancing hormone levels. It's balancing the gut microbiome. So let's just connect some dots here with what we've uncovered so far about borax and how it can help with conditions like autism and other neurodegenerative conditions related to toxicity and vaccine injury. Okay, so autism spectrum disorder and ADHD, there's always a mineral imbalance there. Deficiencies in boron is one of them. It's frequently observed in individuals with these diagnoses, okay? And that's often detected in hair mineral analysis, suggesting a significant relationship between trace mineral imbalances and these neurodevelopment disorders. And there's therapeutic potential. Boron is presented as an overlooked mineral that, while not a cure, may serve as a promising therapeutic to aid and complement holistic treatments along the way. It has those neuroprotective effects, right? Boron enhances brain activity, leading to improvements in cognitive performance, memory, and attention, and functions that are often impaired in autism and ADHD. The anti-inflammatory effects is what's key here. Boron is said to possess anti-inflammatory properties which can directly benefit conditions like autism and ADHD that are characterized by neuroinflammation. Now remember how it can significantly downregulate those inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-1, interleukin-6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha. So that antioxidant function helps mitigate the oxidative stress from the heavy metals that are driving this lipid peroxidation and cellular damage in the brain to begin with. Okay, so a common issue in these neurodevelopmental disorders tied to heavy metal toxicity like aluminum, mercury, lead, cadmium, okay? By increasing the activity of antioxidant enzymes like glutathione peroxidase, superoxide dismutase, and catalase, this can really drive down and mitigate that oxidative damage. And then, of course, boron is credited with enhancing gut microbiome diversity, which is deemed a critical factor in brain development and the management of autism spectrum disorder through that gut-brain axis. Okay, so guys, it's wildly effective. It's incredible, and it's very well tolerated. There's not a lot of great articles out there written on this that actually dive into the details. There are a lot of posts. There's a lot of posts and articles that get shared on social media about the benefits of borax, but it's always just like hitting the bullet points and going, trust me, bro, you should just do it. Well, a lot of people are scared to do it because they're thinking it's a detergent. It's not. It's a salt. Okay? You don't have that same fear with baking soda. You know, you're making your pancakes and your muffins with baking soda, but you're also using it in the laundry and potentially cleaning your house. So similar thing, right? One of the better, or by far one of the best articles that I've found on Substack on the topic was written by Dr. Robert Yoho, MD. Okay, so don't take it from me if you want to hear it from a doctor. This is actually a good article. So let's look at it. Why isn't this working? Oh, because I'm in the wrong place. Okay, so this Substack is Surviving Healthcare. And Dr. Robert Yoho, he says, eating borax laundry booster did not help my arthritis until I salted my food with 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of it daily. So he goes on and talk about all these different benefits and the history of us being engineered to believe that these things are dangerous, and basically dosage lies and depletion of essential things in our body like magnesium and vitamin D and boron. And eventually he gets to borax and starts talking about the benefits and dosages and how to use it, things like that. So I'm going to point you here to go look at how you might want to use it on a daily basis. I can tell you right now, I typically take 1/8 to 1/4 of a teaspoon every day. And, some people will cycle on and off of it. I tend to just use it daily. And that's worked out great for me. But he dives into a lot of some of the good research and just like we kind of went through, but not in the same detail where you can actually look at the studies the way I showed you. So toxicity, this is great. So the LD50, the lethal dose for 50% of test animals for borax is 4,500 to 6,000 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. That's like one big dose that could kill you. Okay, so that's a lot. I mean, you'd have to take like 30 grams of this stuff to be in a tough spot, but we're going to show you that actually is even still not going to kill you. So in contrast, table salt is the fatal dose is 3,000 milligrams per kilogram. Okay, so table salt is more toxic than borax. So if you're stressing about it, you don't need to. We're talking about milligrams of boron a day, right? You may be taking 300 milligrams of borax, but only getting like 100 milligrams of boron or 50 milligrams of boron. This isn't going to hurt you. It's only going to benefit you. A review of 784 accidental human poisonings ranging from 10 to 88 grams of boric acid reported 0 fatalities, with 88% of cases showing no symptoms at all. Okay. Table salt, on the other hand, can cause genetic damage at those levels. So this is not an issue. But I'm not giving you advice. I'm just telling you to go do your own research. So the studies that I referenced, I have just a Google sheet that I can link in the comments. And you can go view all of this. And anyway, I just wanted to go over this because a lot of people have questions about borax or they're scared to try it, and you don't need to be. So start with that one study that we started with. Nothing boring about boron, and get yourself some borax. Now, I've taken this every day. My wife has, my son has, and because my son is so sensitive to contaminants, I actually buy a pharmaceutical grade borax by a company called Prescribed for Life. But you guys do whatever you want. Like, there's literally thousands and tens of thousands of people that are consuming 20 mule team borax every day. So it's super cheap. Now you can go to a supplement and do a 3 milligram capsule of boron, but you're paying a premium for very low dose. 1/8 of a teaspoon of borax is going to give you about 54 milligrams of boron. Okay, so I mean, this is what, $7-8 at Walmart, and will last you 5-10 years if it's just you. But you do you. Go do your research and you do you. But topic of the day was borax. I hope you learned something. Have a great day.